Hi and welcome to Little Jimmy's Recycling Adventure. I'm Matt Hurst.
And I'm Matt Nelson.
There was meant to be a dialogue at the start of this and at the start of, on the end of each level. Meant to be a bit of the story, but perhaps wouldn't pick up the dialogue because it's a different window, so that's not there.
But if you play the actual EXE included, you can see all that stuff.
Yep, and the same with sound. As you can see on the screen, that's little Jimmy jumping around, collecting recyclable objects like the paper which is about to land on, a stack of newspapers, glass bottles, which are the green ones, and there's blue bottles, which are plastic bottles.
Newspapers for paper.
Yep, and then the bins, which are dotted around just on the side of the map. There's a glass bin, which just drops it off, and you see the glass that he collected in the top left has disappeared back to zero, and you put it in the bin, and he's got a score.
We used the score to keep track of overall how if the players picked up all the objects in the game. But we also found during testing that it was difficult for the player to know how many of each they picked up, so we decided to add a number for the paper, glass and plastic. In total there's 18 items and there's 6 of each. We really want to emphasise kind of the difference between recycling and putting things just all in the normal bin. So what we decided was that each type of item would have its own recycle bin, or the player could choose to take it all to the general bin at the top of the map, which is a lot more convenient, but as they begin to play through the level, they'll see that just by taking the easy way out, it'll start to have a negative effect on the environment.
We've displayed that by changing the art style to reflect it, so as you'll see as we get to the end of this level, once we've finished putting everything away, you'll see the art style will change. There would be a dialogue box popping up again there, just prompting like the next level, so it doesn't just jump straight into it. Another thing we should mention is that while working on, at this point that's a dialogue box pop
Text
up.
box comes up.
Yeah, text box. So now that's the second level. So I think it's a little hard to see when you're just looking at such a small portion of the actual image, the background, but the background is changed to represent the effect. I think that's improved.
Yeah, he recycled most of the items in the last game, so the sky's got kind of nicer and the grass has got nicer. You start sort of in the middle, in a sort of neutral world, and you can go forward. There's a total of 5 levels, so there's 2 good levels and 2 bad, progressively getting better and worse, and the game is completely dynamic, so you could get to the very best level, but if you failed that level you could end up keep going back right to the beginning level and then back slowly through the worst levels. Due to
the limitations put upon us by the free version of Game Maker, as we couldn't afford to buy the full version for this, we were very limited in terms of how many objects we can use and the sprites, number of sprites and backgrounds and stuff like that. So what's actually in the game, in the final product, isn't all the artwork we created for it. Like there's corner pieces which we produced for each of the platforms so that they're not quite as square. The original plan was to change the art style of the platforms as well, so that they represent the effect the player's having. So,
in order to determine how the player was doing, to decide which level would be next, I made a system where it would calculate in the background. It would keep track of how many of each item had went into a recycle bin versus a normal bin, and then when the player goes to the door at the end, there's a certain requirement for each level. So I think, for example, first level, if you recycle 6 or more items, that's enough to go on to the next level in the good way. And I think then the requirement for that level is to recycle 11, and then the last level was 17. So if you didn't do that and you put too many in the bin, you'd go back reverse-wise into the negative worlds. This is the player in the darker levels now. They haven't recycled their items and just put them in the general trash. So the sky has got a lot darker and the grass has started to die, to emphasise that they're not taking care of the environment and they're just going for the easy option to throw out their trash. One thing we did add in the game is that as the player goes deeper into the darker, unrecycled world, the screen actually gets slightly bigger, making it
Playable.
easier, and kind of just emphasizes sort of convenience, where versus where if they're recycling, the screen actually gets slightly smaller, implying that there's actually a bit of effort to recycling, and although it's a good thing to do, it's also quite effortful. If the player decides at this point, even though they've got this actually the very worst level they can get to, they could decide to start recycling items and put them into recycle bins. They would, as we talked about before, start to progress back up towards the better levels.